I was watching the White House press briefing today, and a name came up that I was not expecting, and that is Laura Loomer. And Loomer had a private meeting with J.D. Vance today at the White House, and I think I know what it was about. Now, I'm going to go through this article in CNN, and then I'll tell you what I think it was about, and I think you're going to agree with me, too, if you've been following what's been going on in the news. Here's the headline in CNN. Laura Loomer meets with J.D. Vance at White House complexes, sources say. Laura Loomer, now again, this is CNN, so, the descriptors they use are not mine. This is CNN. Laura Loomer, the far-right activist who once posted a video claiming 9/11 was an inside job. Don't you like how the news, how they do these things? They've got to put in, right here, they have 3 things to discredit her right in the first sentence, right? Far-right activist. So that's actually 2, because she's the right and she's far-right. And then this thing about the 9/11 video. So that's how they begin their news story. That's exactly what President Trump's talking about when he's talking about fake news. The news is we report, you decide, just the facts, ma'am. All that stuff. Who, what, when, where, and how is what you're supposed to be doing when you're a reporter. But right in the beginning of the CNN news story, right out the box, editorializing. Okay, Laura Loomer, the far-right activist who once posted a video claiming 9/11 was an inside job, was back at the White House complex Tuesday morning where she met privately with Vice President J.D. Vance. 3 sources familiar with the meeting tell CNN. The sources would not share the substance of the one-on-one closed-door meeting, which occurred in the Eisenhower Executive Office building, that's that building next door to the White House, or what was discussed. Loomer did not meet with President Trump and has since departed the White House complex, one of the sources said. After Loomer's last known visit to the White House in April, the White House fired several National Security Council staffers whom she labeled as disloyal. The administration also fired the director and deputy director of the National Security Agency. Loomer, who has a loyal online following, has been an influential figure in the Trump administration. She has a direct line to the president and has been known to influence personal decisions, though she has not been able to secure a White House press credential. She doesn't need one because she's got the president's cell phone number, right? She got those national security people terminated. And what they don't say here in the CNN article, and the media will never say this, is that she is an investigative journalist that has a lot of sources. A lot of people talk to her and tell her all kinds of things. She's been doing this for many years. So, let me finish the article, and I'll tell you what I think she was doing there. I do think there's a fear that I may ask, this is a quote of Loomer talking about why she doesn't have press credentials. I do think there's a fear that I might or may ask questions about the loyalties of people in the White House, she told CNN recently. And they fear me having a national and global microphone to ask those questions. Loomer had publicly criticized then National Security Advisor Michael Waltz before he was ousted from his position, accusing the former Florida congressman of making poor personal choices. She weighed in more recently on the administration's move to withdraw Jarek Isaacman as the nominee to head NASA, touting his professional accomplishments and questioning why the White House would not move forward on him. During the 2024 campaign, Trump's travels with Loomer on September 11th were illustrative of her influence with the then candidate. But her proximity to Trump sparked some friction, in part because she had previously posted a video claiming the attack of the World Trade Center was an inside job. Loomer told CNN at the time, I've never denied the fact that Islamic terrorists carried out the 9/11 terrorist attack. In fact, the media calls me anti-Muslim precisely for that reason. And that's all CNN has. Well, I think she was there because of this terrorist attack that happened yesterday. Okay? The first time I remember hearing of Loomer was after the Las Vegas shooting. And she did a lot of reporting there on what was going on. And since that point, after that incident, she started doing a lot of coverage on Muslim things and cells that were all over the country. And that got her in a lot of trouble. In fact, her investigations on Muslims, that's what got her canceled. That's what got her thrown off of all the social platforms and everything else. Okay? And because of that, she has a lot of sources that give her information. I'll tell you this about her reporting. And you can go through her reporting. This thing about 9/11, that's not so much of reporting. That's a theory she has that she believes, but she hasn't, if you go to her news reporting, as far as I know, she has a 100% accuracy rate. A 100% accuracy rate, which really hardly anyone, if anyone, has. And with her contacts and sources and everything she posts on social media being 100% accurate, because, her post on X is her reporting. That's her platform. She doesn't work for any outlets or anything. So when she posts something to X, she's reporting, or if it's on some other social platform. She is 100% accurate. There was only one time I couldn't believe what she was reporting was true, and I was so wrong. She was the first person to report that Ron DeSantis was not MAGA, that he was lying to the president, he was going to run, and she was right about that. And if you go back, she is 100% accurate. And yesterday, she started doing a lot of reporting through her sources on this Islamic terrorist in Boulder, Colorado, who lit the Jews on fire while they were alive. I mean, hardcore act of terrorism. And she reported a lot, and there's something that she has today. And one of the things she reported yesterday is that the terrorist daughter has been accepted to 2 colleges in Colorado. And we don't even know if they're in the country legally, right, or illegally. And certainly the chances are they're illegal. Well, today, and this is what I think she was doing at the White House, she posted this on X, Laura Loomer, exclusive, she wrote up here. This is Loomer's tweet. Department of Homeland Security has exclusively confirmed to me, see, she's got a lot of sources, that Muslim Brotherhood terrorist Mohammed Salomon's wife. So now, see, that's some new information there that we got. This Colorado jihadi is with the Muslim Brotherhood. That his wife and 5 kids have officially been taken into ICE custody, and they are being processed. So they're illegal, and they've been arrested. Department of Homeland Security tells me they became aware of his children following Loomer's unleashed exclusive reporting. So her reporting yesterday is what led to the whole family of the terrorists who were in the country illegally getting rounded up today, including the fact that his daughter just graduated from a charter school in Colorado and is set to attend college in Colorado. So that's why she was at the White House today. Not just specifically because of this. The country's under attack, right? We had that terrorist attack in D.C. by that radicalized Democrat that murdered the Israeli embassy workers, the ones that were going to be engaged. That was an Islamic terror attack, right? That guy was radicalized by the Democrats, radicalized by whoever, Muslim Brotherhood here. This guy, definitely Muslim Brotherhood, because she's reporting it. And the thing about this Colorado terrorist being a member of the Muslim Brotherhood, it's being reported by the mainstream. Some say months, some say a year, but they're saying he spent months, as long as a year, planning this attack, right? So the chances that a guy who's with the Muslim Brotherhood, who has 5 kids and a wife, who just said, okay, I'm going to go do this on Sunday, is unlikely. And the reason I believe, that they had Loomer at the White House today is to get what information she has and get her working on whether or not he's part of a larger network. And Tom Homan on Hannity last night, I played this on the morning show, the clip of him on Hannity. I'm not going to play it now because I played it this morning. But Tom Homan said, and remember, as the borders are, he is with the Department of Homeland Security. He's the top guy there. So Homan is getting briefings from probably the same one the president gets on the daily threat level because of what he's doing, right? At Homeland Security. Homeland Security is where all that information is processed. And he says we are close to having another 9/11-like event with all of the Muslim terrorists that were let in by Biden with the illegals at the southern border. She's a big expert on all of that. That's why she was there. Trump and his team are, with Homeland and whoever else, and with her help, they're doing something to try to round up more of these people before there's another attack. And they're using her sources to find out. And my guess is she has some deep embedded sources that would be very shocking, the kind of people you probably wouldn't want to know. That's probably what she was doing there. And, both of these terrorist attacks, the D.C. one and the one in Colorado, this is 100% the fault of the Democrats, Joe Biden, Barack Obama, and Kamala Harris. And I say Obama, if you're wondering, well, he hasn't been in office for a long time. The automatic pen committee that ran the country the last 4 years with Jill and that junkie Hunter Biden, okay, they did this. And the auto pen committee was run by Obama, so he's responsible just as much as Biden and Kamala Harris are. We already have 2 terrorist attacks. Hopefully we won't have another one. And this one in Colorado, they're all horrific when there's a terrorist act. But these 2 happening so close, these are different types of attacks than we're used to in this country. I don't think the president believes this either. I don't think they're random. I think there's a coordinated attack going on in this country. And when these things start, one of the things they do is test the reaction of the authorities, of the government, to these things. That's what led up to 9/11. If you remember, they attacked the World Trade Center the first time. Nothing happened. They attacked the embassies in Africa. Nothing happened. They attacked the USS Cole. Nothing happened. And they built up to 9/11 because they didn't think the United States would respond. And it's quite possible that's what's going on here. And, one of the reasons that I have not been supporting this bombing of Iran is because Iran controls pretty much all of the Islamic terrorism around the world. And if the leaders of Iran feel cornered, like the end is coming, they could unleash a global network of terrorists. And I'm sure, sadly, they have a whole bunch of them in this country. And that's one of the reasons you want to be a little relaxed when it comes to bombing Iran. But I think that's what she was. I think her at the White House has something to do with the White House, President Trump, and I guess he's got JD working on this, to determine whether or not there is a network in this country planning multiple terrorist attacks. And let's hope that they are not. This is really bad news. And, if you watch the media coverage, they're already trying to move away from the entire story. They don't even really want to report it. And at the beginning of the press conference today, Carolyn Levitt came out and went through it. And let me pull this up. She was very good with this today. Pretty impressive. This is Carolyn Levitt, and she opened up the White House press briefing with this.
I want to start by addressing the horrific act of violence that took place on Sunday in Boulder, Colorado. President Trump and the entire administration's hearts go out to the victims, and they are in our prayers during this unimaginable time. According to reporting from Fox News, the alleged attacker admitted in an interview that he wanted to kill all Zionist people and had been planning the attack for over a year and would do it again if he could. This monster used a makeshift flamethrower and Molotov cocktails to light Jewish Americans on fire in an attempt to burn them alive. The victims at the incident location in Boulder were there to rally in support of Israeli hostages who remain in Hamas captivity. 12 were injured, including a Holocaust survivor.
Wow.
This is pure evil. The Department of Justice has already filed federal hate crime charges against the alleged perpetrator, and he will be held accountable to the fullest extent of the law. This tragedy is a sobering reminder of the consequences of the Biden administration's failed policies. According to the Department of Homeland Security, the Boulder suspect is an Egyptian national who was in the United States illegally. He entered the U.S. during the Biden administration in August 2022 on a B-2 visa until it expired. Upon the visa expiration, he overstayed, filed an asylum claim, and was given a work authorization by the Biden administration. Instead of deporting this heinous individual, Joe Biden's administration allowed him to stay in our country and to work. President Trump sounded the alarm over these reckless Biden policies for years because this is the predictable result of letting anti-American radicals and illegal immigrants pour into our country. Immigration security is national security. And that's why the Trump administration, at the direction of our great president, has secured our border, strengthened our immigration system, and has taken immediate steps to protect the United States from foreign terrorists and other public safety threats. President Trump acted swiftly upon taking office to reform our visa issuance process to ensure that dangerous aliens who are intent on harming Americans or our national security interests are no longer admitted into our country. Under the Trump administration, aliens will only be admitted into the United States through the legal process and only if they do not bear hostile attitudes towards our citizens, our culture, our government, our institutions, or most importantly, our founding principles. Under President Trump, the United States has zero tolerance for foreign visitors who support terrorism. Violators of U.S. law, including international students, will continue to face visa denial or revocation and deportation. And illegal alien criminals will continue to be arrested and deported from our country.
Okay.
I want to start.
So, by the way, I'd like to know what kind of Islamic groups they have at whatever college this jihadi's daughter was going to go to in Colorado. See, this is what you got to understand. The terrorist, it's obvious what's going on. They have an incredible network going on through the Democrats, liberal organizations, mostly through these colleges around the country where these young people are completely radicalized. And this is the first time there's been clamping down like this. Even after 9/11, they didn't clamp down like this on these organizations. In fact, after 9/11, Bush and Cheney would bring Islamic leaders from different Islamic organizations to White House meetings, and then later would get exposed that they were like front groups for terrorists. It's the first time we've seen something like this happen, where I guess since the Second World War, when we had patriotism in this country last time, but it's the first time since 9/11 that we've really seen the President of the United States take preemptive action against things, and he's doing that at every stage with this. Now, the only thing with this guy that they want you to think that he's just some lone nutbag. This guy is not a lone nutbag. There's no way. When a guy is his age, he's a grown man, he's not a kid. These last two terrorists, the D.C. one and this one, you notice both of them didn't sacrifice their lives. In fact, the one in D.C. wanted to get caught. After he murdered those people in a very brutal way, the girl survived the initial shooting. She was trying to crawl away to safety. He followed her and shot her while she was on the ground crawling, right? I mean, and then he sat down at the location and waited for the police. This guy, they got him. It's very unusual to capture these people because usually they don't survive the attack or they take their own life. And these guys wanted to get captured. But for an older guy who has 5 kids and a wife, there's no way this guy just snapped and went and did something like this. Loomer says he's with the Muslim Brotherhood. He was activated by someone, or an organization, and that is what Trump is working to get to the bottom of right now.
Planning your next adventure? Forget the stress. Let TripWalt, the smart trip planner app, handle everything for you. TripWalt is a revolutionary travel app that creates personalized itineraries in just seconds. No more endless searches, no more guesswork, just your perfect trip, curated to match your interest. With TripWalt, you'll discover hidden gems you never would have found before. Discover authentic local experiences and get smart recommendations tailored just for you. Whether you're dreaming of a weekend getaway or a bucket list journey, TripWalt turns travel planning into effortless excitement. It's easy to use too. Just tell TripWalt what you want, get your itinerary, and start exploring. Are you ready to transform how you travel? Download TripWalt right now in the Apple App Store. Available soon for Android. TripWalt, the smart trip planner. This Father's Day, give a gift from the heart. The Flower Story by author Sean Feeney is a children's book that gives tribute to the unconditional love between a father and daughter. Inspired by a 2-year-old's bedtime request, The Flower Story follows the journey of a flower given by a father to his little girl, growing with her through the years. It's a story that blossoms with meaning, capturing those powerful moments only a dad and daughter can truly understand. The Flower Story is perfect for bedtime, story time, or anytime. It also includes a special special section where dads can add their own personal message, making each book a one-of-a-kind keepsake. Whether she's 2 or 22, let her know your love grows forever. Celebrate Father's Day with The Flower Story by Sean Feeney. It's a gift she'll never forget. The only way to get a signed copy is on the author's website. Just type in 143 Art Publishing in the search bar and you'll find it right there. If you're in business, you know that first impressions are crucial. Your business deserves a website that stands out. With nearly 20 years of experience, ProWeaver is your trusted partner for professional custom design websites that are built to elevate your brand. ProWeaver doesn't use generic templates, just fully responsive, user-friendly custom websites that are tailored to you and the needs of your business. And the best part, ProWeaver delivers in just 3 to 5 days. That's lightning speed compared to competitors who take weeks. ProWeaver handles everything for you. Logo design to e-commerce solutions, SEO, and social media setup. They'll help you launch, grow, and dominate online, all at an affordable price. Don't wait. Get your custom website right now. Visit ProWeaver.com or call them directly toll-free 877-216-0852. 877-216-0852. ProWeaver.com. Affordable, dependable, fast. Did you know that every year, 95% of criminal cases never see a jury? They're decided behind closed doors through plea bargains. But what happens when those negotiations go wrong? Author Philip Mosier takes you inside the seismic 2012 Supreme Court rulings, Missouri versus Fry and Lafler versus Cooper, that changed everything in the book Plea Bargains on Trial. Available on Amazon. For the first time, the court recognized the right to effective counsel during plea bargaining, exposing the hidden pressure points that shape justice in America today. Filled with sharp legal insight, real-world examples, as well as powerful historical context, Plea Bargains on Trial pulls back the curtain on a system built on speed, but often short on fairness. If you're drawn to the complexities of law, justice, and the fight for true representation, Plea Bargains on Trial is a book you can't afford to miss. Order your copy right now on Amazon and see the system in a whole new light. Plea Bargains on Trial from author Philip Mosier on Amazon.
Welcome back, everyone. I'm Brian. You're, of course, tuned into the Brian Craig Show podcast. Make sure you follow and subscribe on whatever platform you are listening to the program on, all right? Now, here is a story that the reason for it is pretty obvious. Look at this. Murder rates plummet under President Trump. President Donald Trump's law and order agenda has reduced the murder rate by 20% this year so far. That's amazing from last year. And, you know, the reason for it is pretty simple. One, the border's being shut down, right? A lot of criminals have either been deported or they're in hiding. They don't have time to go out and do crime because they don't want to get picked up and deported. That's one reason. And another reason, too, is the economy. You know, when the economy is not doing well, like it has not been doing the last 4 years with the Biden autopen administration, crime goes up. Crime always goes up when the economy's not doing well because people need money. And the crime, so the economy's doing better, the border's shut down, illegals are in hiding. That's why the murder rate's down. I'll go through this article in the Daily Signal just a little bit. Let's see if they give us any answers. Carolyn Levitt said in a statement, American families were promised their communities would be safer. President Trump swiftly delivered by vocally being tough on crime, backing law enforcement, standing firm on violent criminals being held to the fullest extent to the law. As of early May, murders were down 31.6% in Baltimore, 34.5% in St. Louis, 36.8% in Cleveland, 63% in Denver, wow, 30.6% in New Orleans, 26.8% in New York, I don't know, is that New York City or state, and 23.7% in Chicago. Philadelphia had 88 recorded homicides as of May. 4 years ago, they had 201 murders at the same period. Okay, I mean that's a big difference. It's a lot of murders taking place. This is 88 is the lowest year-to-date homicide number Philadelphia Police Department has listed since 2014, 2015, so the lowest in 10 years. If the decline continues through the fall, we should start having a discussion about the probability of a record-breaking year, the analyst says, and it goes on to some more details with that. That's absolutely amazing, and it is not a coincidence, okay? I know the media might like you to think it's a coincidence. It is not a coincidence. And also, in a lot of these liberal cities, in particular New York City, they're not fearless anymore because these criminals were doing things that they were doing because they just assumed that they'd get away with it and they wouldn't go to jail, right? Remember they had that no bail in New York City. So the tough on crime stance isn't just from the president. It's happening at the local level too. Now, there's another story that people are getting very excited about, okay? There's a new poll in South Carolina involving Lindsey Graham, okay? New poll shows 57% of Republican voters in South Carolina will not vote for Lindsey Graham in the primary. What do you say? Charlie Kirk, by the way, posted this. Lindsey Graham's bad news. You know, do you think it's a coincidence he's over in Ukraine and now they're bombing bridges and attacking Russian airfields with these drones? I don't think it's a coincidence, and I don't believe that Ukraine operated alone. I was reading on X earlier. There's a guy who's retired CIA. He said the attack on that airfield in Russia by the Ukrainians has CIA written all over it. You know, these deep staters and military-industrial complex people, of which Lindsey Graham is a part of, they don't want the war to end. They're panicked over this because this is how they make their money. Okay? I mean, look at this attack today that Ukraine did on this bridge into Crimea. That was an underwater demolition operation. Are the Ukrainians that sophisticated? I wonder if we had somebody that did that. Or was it what do you think? You think the United States had some? I'm not saying Trump. I'm talking about these deep state people that are doing things off the books. Or maybe it was some American mercenaries that have been working over there. But that does not look like all of a sudden Ukraine is able to do underwater demolitions on bridges, take out Russian bombers on the ground inside. Things are getting a little too sophisticated for the Ukrainians to be doing this. I think it's us or maybe some of our so-called allies in NATO. I don't know. But there's no way that Zelensky and the Ukraine all of a sudden have upgraded what they're doing to a level like this. I don't believe it. But back to Lindsey Graham. And I've seen this going around all week about this new poll about primarying Lindsey Graham. And you know, I don't like Lindsey Graham at all, but there's a missing piece to the puzzle here that no one knows, okay? So, yeah, we could beat him in the primary according to these polls. But can the person that would beat him win the statewide race? Maybe, I don't know. I haven't seen any polls, and I've been looking for them. I haven't seen any polls showing another Republican winning that Senate race. And as bad as Lindsey Graham is, he's still a Republican, which goes towards our majority in the Senate. So you don't want to get rid of Lindsey Graham in a primary if the person who replaces him cannot win the seat and it goes to a Democrat. As bad as Lindsey Graham is, this guy is a jerk, okay? There's no doubt about it. He's a warmonger. He's completely insane. You can't trust him. But would you rather have Republican Lindsey Graham in the Senate or a Democrat? Now, I don't know. Maybe the Republican that would beat him could win the state race, but I haven't seen any polls about that. And every single person, like Charlie Kirk, that posts this, they leave that out. And I think that's important, don't you? Yeah, it's very important. So let's not get ahead of ourselves and get rid of Lindsey and lose that seat. We need that seat in the midterm. We don't want to be taking any risks in the midterms, okay? We don't want to take any risk. Now, I'm not saying we should vote for Lindsey Graham. Don't misunderstand me. But before a big conservative movement goes to primary Lindsey Graham, we need to know if the person that would beat him in that primary can win the seat in the statewide race. And that's not something that you can guarantee. And you know, if the polls showed that the primary opponent could win the state race, that would be connected in every story about this, and I've seen nothing about it. So you got to ask yourself this question. who's behind all these polls showing that Lindsey Graham would lose a primary to another Republican? Is it the Republicans? Is it the MAGA Republican movement, us? Or is it the Democrats trying to screw us over, doing a psych op here? You got to think about these things more than 6 seconds ahead. I mean, I'd love to see a good MAGA Republican in there in place of Lindsey Graham, but there's a missing piece to this puzzle. But let me know what you guys think about that in the comments. I know none of us like Lindsey Graham. That's not what I'm asking. But if you have any polls on the Republican that would defeat him, see, I don't even know the guy's name. Do you? What's his name? Who are they going to put up against him? Exactly. So I would not be surprised if this is the Democrats pushing this narrative, and it's something that so many Republicans would jump on because we hate Lindsey Graham. But he wins election after election in South Carolina, so we Republicans around the country may not like him, but maybe the Republicans in South Carolina do. So before we get rid of him, let's think about it. I'm sitting here in the studio with one of my pillows. Well, actually, this my pillow is my wife's my pillow. Okay, this is the one my wife slept on last night, and we were taking the sheets and everything off the bed to do laundry, and we washed the my pillows because the my pillows are completely washable and dryable. And this one actually is my wife's favorite of the my pillows. This is the premium my pillow, which is covered with Giza cotton, that 100% Giza cotton, which is it's an upscale my pillow, and it has the piping around the side. And the width of the piping actually tells you how much fill there is inside. And this one is firm. And the patented fill that Mike Lindell invented is absolutely amazing. And what that patented fill does is it stops your head and neck from turning at night. Once you're in position and you go to sleep, you stay in that position. With other pillows, you toss and turn at night. Every time you do that, even when you don't remember it, you wake up out of REM sleep. And with the My Pillow's patented fill, your head and neck fit in that pillow perfectly, and you're not tossing and turning. That's why I get 4 or 5 hours sleep a night, usually 4, but if I'm lucky, 5, and I'm so well rested and ready to go every morning for a very long day because those 4 or 5 hours of sleep I get are well-rested sleep. And if you get the sleep you should get, the 7 or 8 hours, oh man, you're going to be lighting the world up on fire. And if you think you've gotten a good night's sleep, you've not had a true good night's sleep until you've slept with a My Pillow. Now, the My Pillow, the premium pillow with the Giza cotton that I'm holding in my arms right now, the queen size is just $19.98 with our promo code Kane at checkout, and the regular price on that is $69.98. So it's a huge discount. You can also get it in the king size, which is $24.98. That's usually $79.98. So great deals with our promo code Kane at checkout, Kane. Don't forget to use our promo code Kane at checkout, Kane. And, of course, you can use our promo code Kane, Kane, at checkout on all the specials at MyPillow.com. But I love these My Pillows. I have all the My Pillow products you hear me talk about. The premium My Pillow that's made with the Giza cotton on the outside. This will change your life. Order yours today. Promo code Kane, Kane, at MyPillow.com. Now, this story here, getting a lot of play today. Disney laying off hundreds of employees. The Walt Disney Company, this is in the Hill. The Walt Disney Company is laying off hundreds of its employees, according to a spokesperson for Disney. The spokesperson said the Disney teams affected by the Monday layoffs include film and television marketing, corporate financial operations, television publicity, and casting and development, but also said there'll be no cutting of teams themselves as our industry transforms at a rapid pace, blah, blah, blah. We continue to evaluate ways to efficiently manage, blah, blah, blah. As part of this ongoing work, we've identified opportunities to operate more efficiently and are eliminating a limited number of positions. The layoffs were first reported by Deadline, and it goes on a little bit about that. See, what's going on with Disney is a number of things, okay? And we're going to start to see some layoffs at other places too. And it's not just woke and you go broke. I suspect that a lot of the bizarro agenda we see at Disney was coming from USAID. I'm telling you. You know, we've seen all these weird things that USAID was funding. Disney was probably in on that a little bit. But the thing with Disney, and, you know, Libs of TikTok is amazing. If it was, all this is happening because Libs of TikTok. If you remember, Libs of TikTok became famous, and Libs of TikTok is on X, right? Libs of TikTok became famous because somehow they got a hold of that private Zoom meeting with senior staffers from the Children and Entertainment Animation arm of Disney from California. Put it online, it went public. And that's why all this is happening. That's why people turned against Disney. And remember Ron DeSantis, after that came out, he was quoting Libs of TikTok. And legislation was passed here in Florida, you know, all that, you know, legislation that the liberals were opposing on this, based on that Disney meeting that Libs of TikTok made known. And the woke agenda is dead in the country right now. It's dead. There's some pockets where it's still going. You know, they got this cheater male athlete in California who illegally, against the orders of Trump, is participating in girls' sports, which they're not supposed to be doing. But that's an isolated thing. You know, this new thing with Target. Here we are. June is Pride Month, and President Trump has changed it to, you know, Veterans Month. But Pride Month, Target was the original company that started with all this transgendered lunacy. Because if you remember, the controversy started years before all these athletes, when for some reason, out of the blue, Target started letting men use the ladies' room. Remember that? And it wasn't just the ladies' room. They were also letting men use the ladies' dressing room. I mean, it was just strange. I don't know what started that, but all this trans stuff started with Target. They obviously had some people running Target who were either in that movement or their children were, who knows. But they were the ones that started it. And in Pride Month, Target would go overboard with their Pride merchandise. The last couple of years, they had whole sections of the store that were Pride merchandise, gay, trans, and all of this. And now this year, they purged it all from all of their stores nationwide. And next to Walmart, they got to be like the second largest retailer, at least in the top 5. I mean, here in Florida, there seems to be a Walmart or a Target every couple of miles, and I'm sure it is wherever you are too in the United States. And for them to purge they did two things, and it really shows you that woke is done. One, they purged all their stores nationwide of the Pride merchandise, but they've brought in their 4th of July merch early. So it's all red, white, and blue, stars and stripes, shoes, flip-flops, swim trunks, bathing suits, shirts, T-shirts, everything else. So that not only did they purge all of their stores of the Pride merch, they wanted everybody to know that not only they did it, they wanted it to be highlighted, and they wanted the people to know that they're back on the American patriotic train with this. And that's a big blow. And I'm sure there's other retailers that are seeing this. And if you notice, there's really no blowback against Target for doing this. If this were a couple of years ago, the activists would be all over Target. If Elon Musk had not bought Twitter and turned it into X, the cancel culture would be full force. But there are very few radical liberals in this country anymore. The country has been really magnetized, really red-pilled, and they're sick and tired of all this stuff. And it didn't last very long, did it? But the wokeness is gone, except in a few isolated places like this thing in California, and there's a couple of weird things going on here and there, but it's dried up all over the place. And Target not recognized. Pride Month has been recognized. It's Gay Pride Month, by the way, if you're not familiar, right? Gay Pride Month has been recognized for years by all these big retailers, years. And for it to just disappear, it's not a coincidence. It disappeared right after Trump. A lot of times, corporations, they're not really loyal to a political party. They're loyal to whatever direction the public is at because they want them to come into their business and spend money. And with this purge of the gay pride merch, believe me, other retailers, and not just retailers, other types of businesses are looking that there is zero blowback against this. I've seen one or two lunatic women put videos on TikTok or X. No one cares. They look like nutcases. And that's a pretty amazing thing. So not only is wokeism pretty much dead now, it's also pretty safe to say that this trans business, it's going to evaporate, except in California, okay? They'll probably keep it going in California for years, but outside of California, it's going to evaporate. Now, when that god-awful terrorist attack happened in Washington, where that couple that was about to be engaged were killed by that Democrat Islamic terrorist out there. And even though he wasn't Islamic, it was Islamic terrorism. He was radicalized and was doing it on their behalf. Remember, both of these terrorists both shouted the same thing, right? Free Palestine, death to Zion, there's all that stuff. Same slogans, same hashtags. A reporter went up to Ilhan Omar and asked her to condemn the attacks, and she wouldn't do it. And CNN, I mean, this is just stupid. This is CNN, Abby Phillips, and they're talking about Ilhan Omar and AOC. Listen to this. This is just stupidity.
I definitely think, to the congressman's point, there are specific things that are being said on these campuses that are anti-Semitic. But the idea that AOC and, I don't know, Congresswoman Ilhan Omar are engaging in those activities, I'm not sure there's a lot of evidence of that.
They spoke at campuses.
You know what I mean?
They were there on those campuses.
Right, but I guess, but here's what I'm saying. But do you understand what I'm saying? If they show up on college campuses to protest, you know, what's the situation in Gaza, are you saying automatically the same thing as uttering anti-Semitic words?
Yes, they're
anti-Semitic.
Make no mistake about it. Their words are absolutely, and this is all based in anti-Semitism.
Right, what I'm saying is, like, do you have evidence that they actually engaged in anti-Semitic language? That is the issue.
You know what I mean? Supporting terrorists and
some of her past.
Are you saying? I mean, do we have to go through the statements?
I am talking about on college campuses. You know, because I think that there is a difference between protesting.
Is very clear.
There's a difference between protesting and saying and doing anti-Semitic things. Would you not agree?
Ilhan Omar's rhetoric, as it pertains to Jewish people in the state of Israel, is deplorable and disgusting. She shouldn't even be in Congress, in my opinion. And them showing up on those college campuses is a green light for the most vicious, disgusting, despicable rhetoric against Jewish students and against Jewish people. You can absolutely draw a correlation. And to pretend that they were on the college campuses and saying kumbaya is to just be naive.
Yeah. Okay, now Abby Phillips here, you can see and the look on her face, she feels stupid for what she's saying, because of course AOC and Ilhan Omar, I mean, give me a break. Ilhan Omar hates Jews. I mean, that's not even debatable. And it's amazing what Jake Tapper has done, right? Because Jake Tapper exposing all this stuff about Biden's cognitive abilities and the media and everything. Abby Phillips was one of the big deniers that if anybody questioned Biden's cognitive decline when he was in the White House, she'd be after you. She didn't know. She didn't know that he had cognitive problems. She didn't know that he lost his mind, even though he's wandering around and couldn't find the door to his own house and everything else that happened. You know, and Jake Tapper has destroyed the little shred of credibility that even these liberal news people had with their own audience. And, you know, I've noticed, and maybe you've noticed this a little bit with the liberal callers that I've been getting in the mornings lately, they have devolved. I got a call today from this liberal guy who calls sometimes. I forget his first name, but he says whatever his name is, from Sarasota. And he said something, and I really didn't know what he meant at first. And then he explained it to me, and it was so bizarre. Now, you know what, they're trying to get a narrative going, the left, right? They think if they get a narrative going, they'll have something. And last week was this taco thing. Trump always chickens out, which is so stupid and so absurd. The guy got shot in the head, President Trump, and he wanted to finish the speech. They wouldn't let him, but he got up anyway and said, fight, fight, fight. And by the way, if you remember, when President Trump got shot in Butler and his face was covered in blood, they wanted to cover him and remove him immediately, and he would not leave until he got up on that podium in the microphone and said what he said. And then he's doing rallies right away and doing appearances right away in open-air venues, and then they tried to shoot him again at the golf course. He still did open-air rallies after that, including going back to Butler and standing in the place where he got shot. So if you're going to call somebody a chicken, you better find someone that's not that brave. If I got shot like that, I don't think I'd be able to get up there like that. Most people would have trauma, post-traumatic issues, and everything else. And Trump, so this chicken thing just doesn't fly. But they're trying to get a narrative going. And it really shows you, without that USAID money to pay their talking point writers, I don't know who's writing their attempt at these narratives. The taco thing was ridiculous. But anyway, this guy from Sarasota calls me this morning, and he says President Trump took Panda Express somewhere. And he didn't say the Panda Express thing that loud. I kind of heard it in the background, and I didn't know what that meant. Had you guys heard this before? So I asked him. I said, "You said he took Panda Express. What does that mean?" And what I thought first, until he explained it to me, because I had not heard this before. Okay, so maybe I'm behind the liberal lingo, but I thought he was making some China reference, right? Panda, Chinese food. I thought he would, I thought he was making a China reference, like Trump's in bed with China. I didn't understand what he meant. And if you go back and watch that show, if you look for it on YouTube, it's the one with Hannity and Tom Homan in the thumbnail, and it was in the last hour of the show, about the last 30 minutes of the show or so. I had to ask him several times what that meant before he would tell me. He didn't want to tell me what Panda Express meant. He says, "Well, that's what we call Air Force One." And I said, "I don't get it. I don't get it." Because I'm trying to figure, well, Panda Express, because I'm thinking about the Qatar plane. What's he talking about? And he says, no. He said, it's because Panda Express serves orange chicken. That's why they call Air Force One Panda Express now. Now, I don't know where they're getting this crap. Are they getting this from MSNBC? I don't know. But, they call him. You guys get why they do that. Calling a guy chicken who did something as brave as he did, that's just not going to fly. If they're going to come up with some label that dueling with Trump is probably not a good idea. One of President Trump's strongest skill sets is branding, coming up with narratives, and nicknames for people. And people trying to out-nickname Trump is just not going to fly, especially one as stupid as that. Panda Express, Taco. They better find something a little more clever. I was telling Steve Kane this morning that come August, it'll be 3 years since Dr. Philip Appleton rid me of pain for the first time. It was in my knee. And my knee had been hurting me since I was 20, 21 years old. So it had been 30 years of suffering. And sometimes my knee would act up. It was my right knee. It would act up so much, I just wanted to sit down and go to sleep, because the pain was so bad. And Dr. Appleton treated me. And I know it was 3 years ago because I remember a salesman from the radio station took me to meet Dr. Appleton. And I told Dr. Appleton about my knee. I got that free consultation that you can take advantage of too, the free consultation with Dr. Appleton. And he treated me with the laser treatment on my knee, which is 100% painless. There's no shots, no injections, no downtime. In fact, not only is it completely painless, you don't even feel it when it's happening. So that was on Thursday. The next day I woke up on Friday, and my knee was already improving. I went for a second treatment on Saturday. First treatment Thursday, second treatment on Saturday, and then Monday, the pain was gone. And 3 years coming in August, the pain has not returned because the laser treatment doesn't just rid you of pain, it repairs the damage that's causing the pain. It's amazing. It works. And he's rid me of pain 6 times after that for a total of 7, Dr. Appleton. We have listeners that travel literally from all over the United States to see Dr. Appleton. He is incredible. The laser treatment works on every type of pain I've ever heard of. Arthritis, which, by the way, he rid me of arthritis in my hand, bursitis, work and sports injuries, strains and sprains, repetitive motion injuries, post-surgical swelling, neck and back injuries, knee conditions, tinnitus, sciatica, spinal stenosis, fibromyalgia, plantar fasciitis, which I understand is incredibly painful, rotary tears, herniated disc, acute pain, chronic pain, and any type of pain you've ever heard of. Because I keep meeting listeners all the time with new pains I never heard of, and they're now living pain-free thanks to Dr. Appleton. Give him a call. Now, remember, appointments are not necessary. Walk-ins are welcome, even on Saturdays. Give him a call and say bye-bye to your pain. 954-973-0710. 954-973-0710. And online, AppletonCairo.com.
What's better than a summer day? Great friends and a gigantic, delicious sandwich. Parents, grandparents, and teachers. There's a new children's book you will want to add to your child's reading list. Gigi's Gigantic Sandwich from author LaKaisha Gibson. Join Gigi as she takes young readers on a colorful, number-filled adventure. With every bite, she's teaching toddlers and preschoolers how to count, recognize colors, and even learn the joy of sharing. Gigi's Gigantic Sandwich is the perfect addition to family reading time. It'll bring learning and laughter together in one delightful book. Are you ready to make learning fun? Then order your copy right now in Kindle and paperback. Gigi's Gigantic Sandwich on Amazon. True warriors don't follow trends, they forge legacies. At TacticalVikingBrand.com, they believe warriors are built, not born. Tactical Viking was inspired by the ferocity of Norse legends and the precision of modern fighters. Tactical fighting is more than just a brand, it's a way of life. They create apparel for those just like you who live by strength, resilience, and honor. Every battle-worn design tells a story of warriors who refuse to surrender. When you wear Tactical Viking, you're not just wearing clothing, you're wearing a legacy. Everything is a tribute to the warriors who gave everything so we could carry the shield forward. The burial flag on our sleeve isn't just a symbol, it's a promise that we will never forget the sacrifices made before us. Join the Brotherhood, forge your legacy, stand strong, stay ready, no surrender. Visit TacticalVikingBrand.com right now and view the inventory. You will be impressed, and use the code TACTICAL10 to save 10% off your purchase. TacticalVikingBrand.com. Forge your legacy. Wear the warrior spirit. What would you do if the person you love vanished without a trace, and all signs led to a place that should have stayed buried? From best-selling author Chris Witt comes the chilling new mystery thriller that you will want to add to your must-read list, The Dark Locket. Emily Winters is missing. Psychiatrist Harold Morgan's only clue, a haunted sanatorium that should have been condemned, and a strange locket that seems to know more than it should. The Dark Locket is a tale of obsession, memory, and a love tested by supernatural forces. Because when the past is alive and the walls themselves remember, you'll have to ask, is it really madness or the truth screaming to be heard? This book makes a great addition to your book club. The Dark Locket from best-selling author Chris Witt, where the past whispers and the walls remember. Available now on Amazon and Kindle, hardcover, paperback, and audiobook, as well as everywhere else books are sold. Order your copy today. This Father's Day, give a gift from the heart. The Flower Story by author Sean Feeney is a children's book that gives tribute to the unconditional love between a father and daughter. Inspired by a 2-year-old's bedtime request, The Flower Story follows the journey of a flower given by a father to his little girl, growing with her through the years. It's a story that blossoms with meaning, capturing those powerful moments only a dad and daughter can truly understand. The Flower Story is perfect for bedtime, story time, or anytime. It also includes a special section where dads can add their own personal message, making each book a one-of-a-kind keepsake. Whether she's 2 or 22, let her know your love grows forever. Celebrate Father's Day with The Flower Story by Sean Feeney. It's a gift she'll never forget. The only way to get a signed copy is on the author's website. Just type in 143 Art Publishing in the search bar and you'll find it right there.
Welcome back, everyone. I'm Brian Craig. This is the Brian Craig Show podcast. By the way, there's an X account that you really should be following, and it's Rapid Response 47. It's the official response of the Trump administration and I'm not sure if it's the campaign or the White House, but it's official from President Trump, and it's really good. They have all the highlights of everything that goes on with President Trump and his staff, and everything is very good. And I follow them on X. I don't know if I recommend people that you should follow on X too often, but this is definitely one. Rapid Response 47. Now, this is another new line of garbage that the Democrats are doing, right? I was talking about that stupid Panda Express and everything they're trying to get going. They've got this new thing they're trying to get happening to get these ICE agents to take off the masks that they wear during these big high-profile busts. And it wasn't that long ago that the liberals were using governor executive orders and passing laws requiring everyone to wear masks. And now they want to outlaw people wearing masks, you know. But these ICE agents, and a lot of Democrats have been talking about this week. You know, they're pod people, right? They want them to take off the masks, and the reason they're wearing the masks, these ICE agents, if you watch any of the arrests down in Latin America, all the police wear masks. They're dealing with hardcore Latin American criminals, and in some instances terrorists, okay? And Trinidad and MS-13 are terrorists, but I'm talking about maybe even Islamic terrorists. And they wear those masks to protect not just themselves, but their relatives. And what the liberals want, what the Democrats want, is to be able to harass these people and their families. And also, if they can see their faces, they think, well, they'll be able to find some dirt. Like one of these ICE agents, they may find something he posted on social media 10 years ago that they'll say is racist, and then they'll say, look, he said this. It's a like everything they've been doing lately, it's a desperate attempt to have some issue. I mean, they're a sinking ship. They're like the band on the Titanic when it's going down. But there was a press conference with the ICE director. His name's Todd Lyons. And one of these idiot reporters asked about the masks, and he set him straight. Listen. Okay, now if you can't hear the reporters because they're off mic, are saying, why are the agents wearing masks?
I'm going to answer the mask question. So,
and by the way, if you see the video, if you watch it on YouTube, you can see the video. He left the press conference when these questions were being asked, and the ICE director, and he was so ticked off at the stupidity of these liberal reporters, he came back to the podium with a vengeance and dropped his binder there, right there. You could hear it hit.
I'm going to answer the mask question. So, no, not the mask, the mask. So, a lot of agencies were invited to come out 2 weeks ago in Los Angeles where we ran an operation where ICE officers were doxxed. So let's just say that again. People are out there taking photos of the names, their faces, and posting them online with death threats to their family and themselves. So I'm sorry if people are offended by them wearing masks, but I'm not going to let my officers and agents go out there and put their lives on the line and their family on the line because people don't like what immigration enforcement is. They are wearing those masks because we ran an operation with the Secret Service where we arrested someone that was going online, taking their photos, posting their families, their kids' Instagram, their kids' Facebook.
Unbelievable.
And targeting them. So let me ask, is that the issue here, that we're just upset about the masks? Or is anyone upset with the fact that ICE officers' families were labeled terrorist?
Okay. Yeah, and this is another big problem with the Democrats. It's another example. The Democrats are always advocating for criminals and foreigners. They never advocate for law-abiding citizens or Americans. And it's been a while since they have, if you follow everything that they're doing. This is another example. But everything is just complete desperation, okay? I mean, they're desperate to have an issue. They've got no issue. The American people are done with the Democrats. They are done as a political party, and you can see it clearly. They're done as a political party, and they've got no issues, and they're going to continue to come up with things, but they're getting dumber and dumber all the time. You're on the air. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
Good morning, Brian. It's Frank from West Palm. How you doing there?
All right,
Brian,
Frank.
you were absolutely correct. LaPorta Roofing was amazingly phenomenal. They just completed my roof last week, and LaPorta Roofing was superb in all ways imaginable when installing the new roof on my residence. Tom LaPorta meticulously spearheaded the entire project from inception through to the finalization of the assignment. Tom handled all the paperwork involving city permits, inspectors, and my community HOA. He was always available, ensuring me that he had my back in all phases of the project. Additionally, Tom, Scott, and Dan, and the entire crew were very well organized with the plan, consistent with all policies and procedures, and craftsmanship was exemplary in all stages of the design execution. Tom, Scott, and Dan maintained continual contact with me, the homeowner, asking if there were any questions I had or anything further I needed. LaPorta Roofing is, in every respect, a stellar, 5-star, AAA, family-owned company that is a reliable, peace-of-mind roofing organization. These guys are spot on with regards to perfection, and they demand it. I remain mesmerized upon the completion of the job. My roof is a masterpiece. And one last thing before I forget, they were the least expensive quote that I received out of 4 quotes for roofing. I thank Tom LaPorta Roofing for all that they do.
Wow, Frank. Well, thanks so much. Tom LaPorta at LaPorta Roofing. He covers both the east and west coast of Florida and everywhere in between. He works with every type of structure, residential, commercial, municipal, and he works with every type of roofing material. Also, don't forget, Tom LaPorta will never sell you a roof you do not need. If you need just a simple repair, he'll do it. He can also handle the job of any size, whether it's a single-family home or an HOA with over 200 units. Give him a call. This number rings directly to Tom LaPorta's cell phone, 954-604-4602. 954-604-4602. And online, LaPortaRoofing.com. Frank, thanks a lot.
Thank you so much, Brian. You have a wonderful day.
Now, there's been a lot of stories out about the ratings collapse at CNN and MSNBC. And, Jake Tapper, who's had pretty much a month of free publicity on every news outlet and podcast and website that covers news in America for 3-4 weeks on his book tour. Everyone's talking about it. And his ratings have tanked too on CNN. And he literally has gotten millions upon millions of dollars of free publicity for the entire month of May, and his ratings are down the tubes. And over on MSNBC, they're losing their minds. This is Symone Sanders. Now, Symone Sanders, she was one of the first, and in fact, she was the first high-profile African-American to quit working for Kamala. She was on Kamala Harris's staff as vice president when she first became vice president, and Symone Sanders quit. And there was a big exodus of black employees, which tells you what kind of person Kamala is. People don't leave these White House jobs that easy, and she was one of the first. But she's been on MSNBC for the last couple of years, and they're also in a ratings collapse. Jen Psaki, who's got the Maddow time slot 4 days a week, because Maddow only works 1 day a week. They pay her like $10 million a year and $7 million a year, whatever it is, $5 million. Even if it's $1 million, it's 1 day a week for Maddow. I don't understand why they think Maddow is all that. But anyway, Jen Psaki is doing the other 4 days. She's going down the tubes. The entire primetime lineup is no one's watching it. And it's significant because they had low ratings before, right? They're in third place by far, and they're very small audience. They've lost 40, and some shows even higher percentages. It's devastating. And I'll tell you, I'm lucky. I've never been in this situation. But there's nothing worse than knowing there's not people watching. Steve Kane and I, we years ago, we left one radio station and went to another. And this was in 1998. Okay, in 1998, we were on 1 a.m. radio station, 940 WINZ in Miami. And we left and went to another radio station that we were on for a long time, AM 1470. And back then, we didn't have any internet presence at all. In fact, live streaming that radio stations were doing that was internet-based was there were no apps. The internet was new. We didn't have a website. There was no social media yet. And we went to this other radio station, and we didn't have the ability because the internet was brand new. We didn't have all these things we have now. We didn't have the ability to tell the audience where we went. And they found us, but it took a while. And when we first went there, yeah, you could tell, right? People don't know you're there. That was back in 1998. But now with everything that's going on, we change radio stations and add radios, and people, it's, I can just go here on YouTube. I can go on my podcast. I can go on X or, and tell you guys, and it's no problem. But back then it was devastating. But I remember those first few weeks and months when we had no way to tell people where we were. It was not easy. Well, that's what it's like on MSNBC, except everybody knows where they are. And to be on the air without people listening is one thing. Being on the air and knowing people aren't watching, that's another thing. That's not easy. And being on the air, knowing people aren't watching or listening, and they're going out of their way now. Like our problem wasn't that people did not want to listen to us. We just didn't have the ability to do a promotion to tell people we had moved to another radio station. The people on MSNBC, CNN too, but MSNBC is in a much worse situation. People don't want to listen to them. So it's not that they don't have viewers. People are choosing to say, we don't like you. So can you imagine what it's like to try to do a show? You've got no one listening. Everybody knows who you are and where you are, but they're actively making a public decision not to watch or listen to you. It's not easy to do a show like that. And Simone Sanders has completely lost it. Listen to this. I mean, she is just out of her mind.
I have to ask who's actually making the decisions. Who is actually running the country? Everybody wants to say Joe Biden wasn't running the country. I know for a fact he not only read his presidential daily brief, he was engaged in the meeting, he asked questions, and he gave directives. Donald Trump won't even bother to read the iPad. Well, especially when this.
Okay, do you hear that? How high tone her voice is? She's having a panic attack on the air, and Simone Sanders has. There was a video of her with Michael Steele, he's sitting at this desk with her now, but her and Michael Steele about 2 weeks ago, did you see this? They got off the air and they were dancing after they got off the air because they were so in love with themselves. They were on television. That was before the ratings came out. So she's having a live on-air panic attack is what that's happening because she's afraid she's going to be out. And when you're on the air and you're having a panic attack like that, you're going to have a high-pitched voice. You're going to say, so it might be worth checking in with them every once in a while. I'm not going to watch them, but I'll do it through clips online because what's happening with these people, they're devolving. And this is what you got to understand with the hardcore Democrats, the MSNBCers, okay, those kind of people. They thought they were going to be running the country for the next 50 to 100 years. They thought with the border invasion and everything else that Republicans were going to be done and that they were going to be running the country. And not only did they lose, they're completely out of power. Their whole ideology has been rejected. Wokeism is gone, right? We were talking about the June Gay Pride Month at Target and at the beginning of the podcast. Everything they thought the majority of the American people believed it's been totally rejected, and they're having mental collapses over it. And Simone Sanders, she's having a pretty big one. Now, I don't know how many of you saw this today. This is an amazing study that came out, and it's mental health ratings by political affiliation. And they did a story on Fox today about it, which I'll play for you in a minute. But let me read through this. Listen to this. And this is also available at Town Hall. 51% of conservatives have excellent mental health. 51% of conservatives have excellent mental health. 20% of liberals have excellent mental health. So think about this. You put it in a different way. 51% of conservatives have excellent mental health. 20% of liberals have excellent health. That means 80% don't. 45% of liberals have poor mental health. Among conservatives, 19% of conservatives have poor mental health. Now, of course, none of this is, shocking. It just confirms what we've known, suspected, and experienced with these lunatics. Here's the story on Fox about it, just real quick.
With conservative political views, 51 to 45% when it comes to excellent versus poor. Yeah. And I don't think the Democrats would have expected that.
I don't know, man. I didn't need a poll to know they were unwell. Just drive around and see someone wearing a mask in their car, and you know who they're voting for, and you know they're not okay.
Yeah, that's for sure. And, you know, I've noticed more people when I'm out in some stores all of a sudden wearing masks again. I don't know if you've noticed that. And the even though they don't want ICE to wear masks, liberals are walking around with them. And the reason that liberals wear masks is, to them, it's a sign of higher intelligence, right? They, you know, if you don't wear a mask, you're not as intelligent as they are. You're a denier of science and all this stuff. You know, it's kind of a bizarre thing. But yeah, I mean, you see what happened with the Tesla protest, and you could tell how mentally ill that they truly are. Now, if you'd like to support the program, become a Patreon supporter. If you're a Patreon supporter, you have access to commercial-free editions of each and every podcast episode. And since I have upgraded the podcast to have a video version of the Brian Craig Show podcast, the audio version's still on all the podcast platforms, guys. But on YouTube and YouTube Music, I upload the video version. And Patreon supporters, not only do you have access exclusively as a Patreon supporter to commercial-free editions of the Brian Craig Show podcast, you get a commercial-free video version of it, completely commercial-free, if you're a Patreon supporter. If you'd like to become a Patreon supporter, there's a link in the description of this and every episode on whatever platform you're listening to us on. And if you're one of our top Patreon supporters, you get a live on-air shout-out on each episode. Your name is in the description of the podcast episodes, and on YouTube and YouTube Music, your name as a top Patreon supporter appears on the screen while I go through the names like I'm about to do. So the following names are our top Patreon supporters. I want to thank Andrew and Connie, Christine, ETW, Chuck, Pamela, Nick, Wesley, Heather, David, Maria in Texas, Alice, LeeZep, Shawna, George, Brandon, John, Frank, Dale, David, Laura, Rob, and SFjr. These are our top Patreon supporters. If you want your name on the screen and in the description, or you want to get those commercial-free editions of the podcast, go into the description of this episode. On whatever platform you're on, go to my Patreon page and become a Patreon supporter. Now, we've got some more detailed information on the terrorist, but just to recap where we began, the Egyptian jihadi in Colorado, his entire family has been taken in and is under federal custody with Homeland Security, and they're all being investigated. And that's his 5 kids and his wife. And we don't have details on if there's some extended family over here too, but there's a massive investigation going on. His wife and 5 children are in custody. We don't know about other family members that are here. And I'm hoping that it expands to an investigation of jihadi activity at the college she was going to go to, right? Because the daughter got accepted to 2 colleges. She chose one, and she was set in the fall to start college in Colorado. What about that college attracted the illegal daughter of this terrorist? Now here's Kristi Noem talking about the terrorist in Colorado.
Hi everyone, I'm Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem. Today, the Department of Homeland Security and ICE are taking the family of suspected Boulder, Colorado terrorist and illegal alien Mohammed Solomon into ICE custody. Now, Mohammed's despicable actions will be prosecuted to the fullest extent of the law. But we're also investigating to what extent his family knew about this horrific attack.
Wow.
If they had any knowledge of it or if they provided support to it. I am continuing to pray for the victims of this attack and for all of their families. Our thoughts and our prayers go out to all of them. And I want them to know that justice will be served.
Okay, so very interesting what she said. Boy, how things have changed, because she said that not only have they brought the family in, they're investigating to see what terrorist ties they have and what prior knowledge to the attack they had. You know, he said after they arrested him that he had been planning this for a year. So he made these Molotov cocktails and this flamethrower, whatever it was he had at home and nobody knew. Of course they knew. You know, I mean, come on. How many of you guys could make something like that in your house? You got 5 kids and a wife, so there's at least 7 of you living in the house. And we don't know if there's any grandmas or grandpas around, but there's at least 7 between you, your wife, and the kids, and no one knew what it was you were doing. You know what? They all knew. And what we have at that guy's house is a little terror cell. That's exactly what it is. Now, is it the only cell? I mean, why are they living in Colorado? It's not just because it's a blue state, right? And there's liberals there. There's something else going on there. You know, this kind of operation. They don't just say, well, let's go live in the freezing cold of Colorado. There's other reasons why they are there. Well, listen, guys, thanks for tuning in. My name is Brian Craig. This is the Brian Craig Show podcast, where MAGA comes to talk. I'll talk to you next time.